This tale ends where most tales begin.
It was the middle of that January night when they be crossing. Caught up in the mix show, but they be crossing. Like TNT, they would explode. Tony Bone and Tariq, they were headed for rip mode. Tony Bone told the 9mm while Tariq was on the streets of North Park toting pizza. Here comes some pizza, y'all. Let's rob some pizza, y'all. You got my 9 bones, you ready? Is you ready? Antoine, he was the boss of the Black Mob Deep as they stood against the wall of the driveway. With these other 3 youngins looking up at this youngin' as if he got some power or some mad something. Tariq was scared of what was running through this man's mind. Tony scared with his hand on his man's 9. Antoine gave the call, the hammer dropped.
Time now for our Friday Making a Difference report and the story of a man whose capacity for forgiveness is astonishing. He suffered the worst loss a parent can ever face, and yet he decided to turn his grief into something positive for himself and a troubled young man. Here's NBC's John Larson.
A documentary began the story like this.
14-year-old Tony Hicks shot and killed 20-year-old Tariq Kamisa.
A 14-year-old murders a promising young college student for the cost of a pizza and becomes the youngest child in California history charged as an adult with murder and gets life in prison.
On January 21st, 1995, I shot and killed Tariq Kamisa, a person I didn't even know and who didn't do anything wrong to me. I have a lot of problems in my life. Over the last year while I've been in juvenile hall, I've thought about my problems. I wish I didn't have the type of life I had. I wish I had a relationship with my father. I think about the warnings that my grandfather gave me. Now I wish I had listened to my grandfather. When I see my mom, I want to hold her as tight as I can. I still don't know why I shot Tariq. I didn't really want to hurt him or anyone else. I'm sorry for the pain that I caused for Tariq's father, Mr. Kamisa. I pray to God every day that Mr. Kamisa will forgive me for what I've done. And for as long as I live, I'll continue to pray to God to give him strength to deal with his loss.
It was like a nuclear bomb going off in my heart.
Azim Kamisa, the father of the victim, buried his only son Tariq according to their Muslim custom. He climbed down into the muddy grave. It had been raining, and they lowered his son's body, wrapped in a white cloth, down into his open arms.
Yeah, I didn't want to live there alone. I stayed there a long time. When something bad happens, you can stop that bad from happening to other people.
But when he finally came up, he did something remarkable. First, he forgave the family of the killer.
It was a defining moment in my life.
Only through that forgiveness,
which in turn helped Azim start the Tariq Kamisa Foundation, speaking together to more than 1 million children about the real pain of violence.
My grandfather promised me that he would be Mr. Kamisa's friend and help him in any way he can for the rest of his life. I'm very sorry for what I've done. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
When Tony committed this tragic act, Azim Kamisa lost his son, but I also lost my grandson to the prison system for a very long time. Tony's as close to a son as I'll ever get in this life, and this tragic choice that he made when he's 14 years old is something that's devastated the entire family. Now, I love Tony, I'll always support him, but the choice that he made to commit murder when he was 14 years old is a choice that committed tragedy that will stay with us for the rest of our natural lives.
on Pelican Bay Shoe, maximum security housing unit. Wake up early, like 5:30 in the morning. Clean my cell, I work out, and I read. I read most of the day. My days are short. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have yard here once a day for like an hour and a half. Right now, I find myself missing a lot of things that I never got a chance to do. Traveling, stuff like that, meeting people. I have to weigh whether me missing things or regretting things is a little bit selfish at times, because I'm taking a man's life and he'll never be able to do anything.
When I got the call by the police to tell me that Tariq had been shot and killed, I remember that I had never felt pain like that before. It literally felt like a nuclear bomb had gone off in my heart. And you can imagine how that would feel if a bomb went off in your body. You're broken into millions and millions of very small pieces. And violence is so painful. It hurts very deep, and sometimes it scars the soul, and it scars it forever. For me to live the rest of my life without Tariq feels very painful.
Here at TKF, we passionately believe violence is a learned behavior that can be changed. No child was born violent. Nonviolence has to be taught if we want to improve the health and well-being of our young people. All of our service interventions teach the principles of nonviolence. We accomplish our mission by working in partnership with San Diego County middle schools that include school assemblies, class curriculum, skill development groups, mentoring, and community service.
I think that it's very empowering for a kid to see someone like them that grew up in their neighborhoods say that it's possible. And I think that's very, very empowering for these kids, because they're looking at a living example of what it's like and that it is possible to choose a different way, to make a different choice. And if we teach these kids that they do have choices with these really important issues that are affecting them on a daily basis, that it'll empower them to be a stronger person.
For my kids, I've seen a lot of big changes. I was at one of the schools with one of the biggest gang problems. So my kids, I would say that they changed their mentality about that, have kind of matured and grown up, and sort of have seen a future for themselves in higher education. And now I'm seeing them that they want to graduate high school and they want to go to college, and that's like the biggest change that I've seen.
So it's definitely a life-changing organization, a life-saving organization.
I really didn't feel like I'm important, like nobody even cares. Yeah, so I didn't feel like I really mattered what I did. Now that I'm a peace ambassador, I feel that about myself, that I matter more and people care more.
Marcellus would, when he started changing and turning things around, he would come in and he'd share with me something positive that he had done. It went from all these negative things that I've done to, look at all these positive things I've done. And when I say he turned things around, he went from being arrested and suspended to not even one lunch detention. Not even one lunch detention.
And now I'm thinking before I do anything, and I'm thinking if I'm gonna have a good consequence or a bad consequence.
Everybody was trying to help that little kid, and they did. Eventually he came to the part where he stood up and said, okay, I'm responsible for my behavior. I can't blame anyone else. It's me. And I need to be the one to change it. So that's what he's done. But I appreciate it so much. I really appreciate it. I have been blessed by TKF today. Thank you.
Please remember Tariq. Please remember Tony. Remember the information shared with you so that you continue to make the right choice.
I wish I could tell you that violence will never impact your lives. But the truth is, for most of you, violence will cross your path. It will impact your lives. And what would be important for me is if violence crosses your path, that before you make a choice, that you will remember this day.
This tale ends where most tales begin.
Imagine if your brother or your sister was killed, how would you feel?
But did we ever stop to think about his family story?
There is not a day that I don't think of him. Everything you do in your life is the choices that you're making. Make very certain that you make the right choices.
I'm trying to keep it real for you younger brothers. The jail cell is real for you younger brothers. 25 to life for being dumb. I seen victims on both sides of the gun.
Tony Hicks, known as Bones, who was 14 years old when he shot Tariq, pled guilty and is serving a 25-year-to-life sentence in an adult prison. He can't get out until he is at least 36 years old. The 18-year-old gang leader who told Tony to shoot was convicted of first-degree murder and is sentenced to life in prison without parole. The other two gang members involved, 14 years old at the time of the murder, were both given long sentences in the juvenile system. Tariq's spirit is alive through the work of the foundation, started in his name by his father and the grandfather of his assailant. If you have been hurt by violence, you are not alone. There are adults who care. Speak to your counselor or someone in your community. Asking for help isn't weak. It's strong.